Good evening, everybody. It's Mike here from Faraday Research. It is Friday night. It's July 26, 2024. Welcome to the show. Welcome to League of Extraordinary Inventors. I'm your host, Mike. Somebody's got their volume up and I can hear myself twice.
That's probably me. I got it.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, welcome to the show. It's Friday night. It is almost halfway through our summer here. Hard to believe that the summer is just trucking along. And also, my guests and myself, we've been trucking along with our experiments and innovations that we've been working on for God knows how long. I know I've been at it for a few years, to say the least. And yeah, we got Philip on. He's from Montreal. We got Nathan. Nathan, where are you? What state are you from?
California.
Oh, you're in California. Okay, cool. And we got Ben. Where are you from? I don't know if he's around the. Is he there? Hello, Ben. Hello, Ben.
I'm currently in Michigan. Sorry, I had
Oh,
myself.
you're in Michigan. Oh, you okay? You're not that far from me, and I'm just outside of Toronto. And yeah, so we got both sides of the border on tonight. Two Canadians and two Americans. There you go.
Very good.
The alliance. These days, I think we need an alliance the way our governments are screwing up with everything, right?
Yeah.
So,
let's not talk about hockey right now.
Hello.
Yeah. And we have Lulu. She's from
Hello.
Houston.
Actually, I'm in Fort
How you
Lauderdale
doing?
right now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you went to
Yes.
Florida. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But I
Cool,
couldn't
cool.
leave you guys hanging.
Cool. Right on. All right. So let's Philip, do you have any updates for us on what's happened the last week?
No major updates, but actually I need to remember my experiment is at a laboratory, professional laboratory right now. It's
Awesome.
being scaled up, but I just need to pay for it now. But
Yeah.
I'm just running short a little bit on cash, but
You know what? That seems to be the theme with every single inventor I've ever known is money. That always seems to be the thing that kind of holds us back sometimes.
I've got money, but I got like big time bills to pay every month, and
Oh, for sure, especially if you're running your own business, right? You know,
exactly.
you got your overhead costs, hydro, whatever, and then your
Like
rental of
the accountant, the lawyer, and
right, all that stuff, and that costs money, right? It
Wow.
costs money,
yeah,
irregardless at what level of an inventor are you. If you're a backyard inventor like myself and Nathan and a lot of people out there, or the guys that are really kind of going to what Philip's doing, getting like real contracts and real things going. So
but
yeah, it's not an easy road, right?
fortunately, did you know that the grants, the Canadian grants, kind of sucks for innovative businesses, but we can apply for U.S. grants as well. Did you know that?
You can.
Yeah, we can. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're talking because Canadian grants, it's always like, oh, we're gonna pay like 30% or 50% of your expenses.
Yeah, that's where Canada's always lacked, trying to fund, like
Yeah,
upcoming engineering and,
yeah,
stuff that could really push forward.
exactly.
So
They don't
I'm
want to take any risk. That's the thing. They don't want to. They don't want to take risk. And but you watch the U.S. They give you they're gonna give you like 250,000 for the phase one and 500,000 for phase two, and it can be
right.
unlimited for phase three depending on the department. So it's
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it depends what sector you're really inventing stuff for. If it's military stuff, oh my God, like sky's the limit. There is no bottom to the pit, right?
yeah. Well, you and I are doing exactly that. So we need to take advantage of it for sure.
Yeah,
That's
because
what
like my day job, working for a military contractor, like the company's making obscene amounts of money, like crazy amounts of money, and it's in U.S. dollars too. because our parent company is American. So we're the Canadian division of the American company. So yeah, we're not like in like the small players category. We're in the with the big guys. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So
awesome. So,
yeah, like in the next like at our shop right now, we're getting a new machine put in. It's coming in, I believe, from Switzerland. It's $2.5 million US.
Oh my God.
nice.
They had to dig a hole in the ground 10 feet deep,
Oh,
30 feet wide, and 40 feet long.
wow.
It cost the company over 300,000 to pour the foundation for the new machine.
Wow.
Yeah, they're about half done now. They're doing all the rebarb and all that kind of stuff. And then the new machine gets shipped in from overseas on a big tanker and comes in probably about 3 pieces. So, as far as I've been told, the machine's about 45 feet long and
Huh.
weighs about 400 tons. So,
Wow.
yeah. So we're talking huge military scale machining.
Yeah,
So we're with the big guys.
yeah.
What is
And-
it supposed to do?
It's a 5-axis CNC machine.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's made in Europe, so it's even more expensive. So it's actually custom made for the application that we're going to be doing, which I can't discuss. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, the funding is way much more generous in the United States, and I don't know the conditions, all the conditions of what we need to do if we are outside the United States, but I guess it's they're gonna invite you down the road to move to the United States, but that's gonna be easy for me since I got friends living
Like
there.
even like when they hired me for the job, they say, "Would you be willing to travel to the U.S. if you have to?" I said, "Well, I guess, yeah. I want the job,
Yeah,
So, and it took me almost a month to get all my security checks. So it's pretty intensive for the security checks, and it's also done with the international partners as well. So that's why it takes so long to get all the security. So NATO is a high security rate. So
the
yeah,
the credit score is part of the background
yeah,
check. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. They check everything.
Yeah.
They almost want your
Oh.
firstborn for crying out loud.
Yeah.
No, I'm dead
Oh,
serious.
my
Like Monday, perfect example. I got to go for a physical for the company. Yep, I got to go get a medical check done as well.
Yeah.
So I got to
Nice.
do that on Monday. So that'll kill much of my Monday morning. So yeah, I have to do it. Yeah, it's a union shop, right? It's a steel workers union in there, so I have to do it. So it
Yeah.
is what it is.
But
But yeah, I've been around this stuff for so long. I just don't even think about it. I've been in aerospace, done stuff for military, international, like carriers like Boeing and Bombardier and a whole whack of them.
yeah.
And whether it's military or civilian, aerospace stuff, I've been there. So yeah, so it's a huge industry. I've been around, machine shops pretty much ever since I started working. Really, I started,
Yeah.
I was 22 years old working in my first machine shop. So,
That's why
so and
you're so motivated to self learn.
well, it's changed over the years, right? Like it was like, well, when you first get out, you're young and green behind the ears and inexperienced. You're going to go through a few jobs, right? But
Yeah.
the thing was, back in those days, in the early to mid '90s, you could lose one job today and have a new job the next day, almost right away. Like you could snag a job that fast.
Yeah. But
Especially if you're young too, they'll take all the young guys in, right? So now I'm in my early 50s, and it's an entirely different situation now. The jobs aren't as fruitful as they used to be. There's companies coming and going all the time. Like I worked for 2 companies in a row, and both of them went bankrupt. So, like the last job I was at, I was really happy with the job. The pay could have been a little better, but I was happy. It was stable while I was there. And then right after Christmas, they give me my notice that they put me on layoff. I said, "What the heck's going on?" They get all the contracts we had, basically, we either were put on hold or got thrown out the window, right? So that company is in dire straits right now. They actually sold the building off. The one owner basically took the $20 million he got for the building and buggered off and left the other guy standing with the rest of the bill.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So he's out of the picture. They still have the building, but now they're renting it out. They don't own the building. The building was 63,000 square feet. It was a fair sized shop, right?
Okay.
Nice.
So that guy pocketed $20 million off that building and basically buggered off.
Wow.
Said, "See you guys." He was
Uh-huh.
out of there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
and he helped build that company. That's the crazy part. He was one of the founders of that company. So that was kind of
Yeah.
odd. So I think he kind of seen the writing on the wall.
It
But
reminds me of Michael Copeland of Corel Corporation back in 2000.
mm,
You heard about it? He
briefly.
Yeah, he screwed his own company when Microsoft invested into his company. He knew that he resold his stock knowing but that was in 2000. He resold his stock knowing that it was going to go down, but you can't sell your stock when you know private information ahead of the other ones.
It's
So,
insider trading.
Yeah, that too. Well, look at what happened in Nortel, right?
yeah,
And what was
yeah,
that other one? There was a big American company that had a huge
Enron,
scandal. Enron. Yeah, the
yeah,
Enron scandal.
yeah,
So, what I see happening in the future is, there will be the big corporations, but I see a lot of small enterprise, small businesses rising up.
yeah.
Not necessarily growing to the point of, like Boeing or NASA or anything like that, but small businesses run by just very few people. And,
I
still
think you're right
being,
on that.
I think so too. I've been kind of watching the trends. Like you're seeing a lot of these small startups where guys come
Yeah.
up with a great idea, they put it together, they rent out a small office to run their
And a lot
business
of them,
through.
a lot of them seem like they're not run like conventional businesses.
No,
That they're trying new things, and I like that.
yeah, new things and just a new perspective on how to run a business.
For
Not
sure.
with the bullhorns capitalistic intentions, right? We got to make 100 million by
Well,
the
I
end of
always
this
thought,
year.
I always felt like if you're running a business, you're trying to provide a service, and you should be focused on the service as well as trying to make profit for the company, right? And
Yeah.
you see a lot of companies, they just don't focus on the service anymore. They don't even care. They're making the money. Why should they?
Mm.
But it's not like a part of their business model, like I want to provide a service. I want to help people. You know what I mean? I want to make sure my service is useful to humanity.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference now is with people that start these things, they want to make a change in the world, something to contribute to us getting better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Leave the
Not
world a little bit better than you came into it,
But yeah, but that's especially gonna come from United States, not from Canada, because did you know the patent application rate dramatically dropped in Canada recently? So we kind of we have a drop here, a major drop in innovations, unfortunately. So
Yeah, because the liberals, they spent all this money on stupid, excuse my language, shit,
yeah,
and now haven't got a
Yep.
pot to piss in. Now we don't have a pot to piss in because
Yeah.
of it, and it doesn't matter who takes over. Say the conservative win the next election. The shit pot he's got to fix now.
The damage is already done.
The damage is done. It's
Yeah.
done.
They've
Like
already
how
screwed
we're,
us all over.
you know,
Well,
and
not only that, everybody forgets, like, they never really rectified what happened in 2008 with the housing crisis.
No,
They're
they didn't.
still selling subprime mortgages as prime and
Yep.
repackaging them.
And right now, right now here in Canada, we're on the verge of that crash right now. It's been going on rampant after 2008 in Canada
Oh,
right now,
wow. Yeah,
especially
so you
in the
might be the
Toronto area. We're looking at a huge real estate crash probably within the next year. It's already starting now. There's a lot of foreclosures and bankruptcies and consolidations and all that stuff happening here in Ontario. I'm not sure about out west or out east, but I know Toronto's starting to
Well,
get hit. Is because
you
of
guys
all.
might be on the front end of that bubble, you know?
Well, yeah, we're whatever happened in the U.S. is happening here in Canada. It might take a few years more for it to happen. We're about.
Oh, you're saying that it's a latency for the bubble? Like you
Yeah.
guys are just experiencing what we experienced in 2008?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're getting very close to that. So, a house here in Toronto right now of say like a 3-bedroom, 2-story house will run you about 1.2 to 1.8 million.
Oh,
Okay, that's crazy. Even in
Yeah.
Canadian dollars.
oh my
Like
God.
there's homes in my area where I live right now going for 1.3 million.
I don't
Okay.
remember the exact
Yeah.
amount, but like minimum wage, you can't make that in a lifetime. You know what I mean?
Well, in Ontario, especially with our food costs, gas and all our utilities and housing, you
Sure,
have to
cost of
be
living.
you have to be making excess of $35 an hour to make a
Yeah.
decent living. If you're
Right,
not,
yeah.
you're struggling. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And a lot of people don't realize, like, I make decent money as a construction tech, but I'm still struggling, you know?
Yeah. And same with us. Like we're stable, right? Both of us make decent wages, and
Mhm.
we're surviving. We're able to go out and do stuff and travel a little bit, but we have to watch our money too.
Yeah,
We
it's
can't
precarious.
we just can't go crazy because right now they say the average Canadian right now is about 8 to 12,000 in debt. Average.
Wow.
Average. That's national
Look
average.
at all the student loan debt we have in the United States.
Same here. Perfect
Yeah.
example. My brother's daughter. Okay, she did 6 years at Guelph University, which is just west of me. She was going for a PhD there. She finished 6 years there. Now she moved to Ottawa. She lives in Ottawa now, and she's doing another 6 years there to get her PhD in the medical
Wow.
industry. So that's 12 years of university. 12 years. Over
I like to remind
100,000.
people that student debt never existed before. You know, we're some of the first generations that are experiencing student debt.
Well, it's been around since the 80s. There was a lot of student loans.
True. Yes, the late 80s. Yes, when it started to
Like-
happen. But I'm just saying, like, before that, there was no student debt. Like, you can go to community college and pay
Right.
like $10-15 a class.
Yeah.
Excuse
Who
me.
benefits from that? The central banks again, they make profit of the interest rate. And
Now, here's the irony of it all. Okay, you might get all this education, years and years, okay, of education. It does not guarantee you a job at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Exactly.
So now you've gambled away $100,000+.
I
from
like
your
that word you use,
education.
gamble. It is. It's a risk.
It is
It's a risk.
a risk, sure. Now we have a thing here in Canada. We call it the RESP. It's a savings fund we do for our kids. We invest into the Canadian mutual funds, and that money is held in trust for our kids' education fund. And then after, when my daughter is ready to go to college or university, I can withdraw that, and whatever I put in, the government gives, I think, 30% more on top of that,
That's a good deal.
which is a pretty good deal. So provided that our mutual funds in the stock market are doing well, then my daughter's education fund will climb up faster. If they take a nosedive, then I'm starting to lose money on my daughter's education fund, which I don't like, and it makes me very uncomfortable. So there again, you're still doing a gamble, right? You're gambling with your kid's college fund with a mutual fund. So,
Crazy.
I'm doing that for my daughter right now. She's only 12, but, she's probably going to need that in about 6, 7 years from now to choose. She's going to go to college or university and she's going to need that money. So,
But in United States, the university is still much more expensive than in Canada. I know in the University of California chain, it's like 40,000 per year
per year, per
semester.
year, that's
Right.
US.
For
That's
40,000
US
Remember
dollars.
per
the
semester.
economy is rapidly changing, so you don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like when she's actually going to college, so preparing early is kind of like a necessity.
Yeah, it's a must. You have to. Yeah,
Wow.
most definitely.
Well, that's good you're
So,
looking out,
my daughter says she wants to get into animation. We have a Walt Disney College south of where I live. It's part of the Sheridan College Network, actually part of the UFT, University of Toronto. So Walt Disney bought out this facility that's just south of where I am. They dumped I don't know how many millions into this place, and they did Jurassic Park there. They did Terminator there, Toy Story. They did a whole bunch of animation at this school. So she wants to get into that. So back at that time when that school was just getting taken over by Walt Disney, there was an 8 to 12 year waiting list to get into that program, and 90% of it was foreign students from China or Japan or so. Now things are kind of changed. Now the government's kind of cutting that off, and it actually created a big uproar here about a year ago about the schools.
good.
They say that they're losing money because they can't bring in all these foreign students. So
Well,
they would rather.
Americans need jobs.
Well, this is the whole point of what I'm saying is they
Mhm.
rather take a foreign student from say China or Japan or Korea into our country, and then my daughter has no chance of getting into that college because they want those foreign students to come in and bring their money in.
Yeah.
That is
So
right.
it was a big
Yeah, it makes it hard.
rigmarole going on with the government and how they're going to control how many migrant students come into the country, right?
Well,
So
I had a few ideas I wanted to say. You guys were talking about investors earlier. I couldn't respond because the kids were all around me, so I couldn't say anything. Well, I found an investor here in Houston that does not know anything about, anti-gravity, is willing to invest like $100,000, for phase one to see what this whole thing is about, And then he said if he thinks that it's a good idea, that he's willing to open up like an unlimited investment. It's part of this called the Expo, Houston Expo Code Launch. And they already like invested. I went to they invited me to one of their shows, and I went there. And these guys like invested big money on the participants, and the participants that were participating. If you only were there, you would like go like this to yourself. Like it's the stupidest ideas that they gave money to.
I think we're starting to see a change in attitude with investors in this like free energy and anti-gravitics, all this fringe science. We're starting to see a breakthrough of people actually being more open to it, I think.
Yeah, because for him, it was like he's never heard of what anti-gravity is. He was very interested, and he gave me his card. And he's like, if you can gather your group and a bunch of people and pitch it to me. He's like, I'm willing to invest that money, just to start you guys up to see what the whole
Yeah.
About.
Hey,
So,
let's put together a presentation for him. I'll put together a video or something with you guys. We'll put together a nice presentation.
Okay, that's an yes. I will next. I'll prepare his business card for next time and his name and his contact, so we can get that started. Another thing, if we do want real quick money, there is a way to do it. If we build a small shopping center and we lease out 51%, it doubles like 5 times folds. So if you so if it's like you build a shopping center, let's say worth $200,000, and you lease 51% of it, you're automatically already like in the $2 million of value. So
yeah, because it's not just real estate. That's
And this is safe because banks
Retail.
will give you loans if you have 20% of that money. So really, if you, let's say if you build a shopping center worth like $200,000, if you have 20% of that money, the bank will loan you the rest. So 20 out of 200,000, so we need like $40,000 to $50,000. They'll loan us the 200, the rest of the money.
Huh. You know what I always wondered is, are we able to like pool together small business loans? Like, say we have 3 different people with 3 small business loans approved by a bank. Can we pool those together? Is that possible?
We should.
Or is that, yeah?
I mean,
Yeah, I thought about that because one small business loan might not be enough, but if we have a group of people who are all approved, we can pool our resources together like that.
yeah. I mean, I know a lot of bankers here that will invest in real estate, but won't invest in like, just concepts or ideas. But if I say, hey, here's a piece of land, or this is a shopping strip that's for sale that, needs to be fixed up a bit. We need the loan. They'll give us like the money and to fix it up too. So it's not just,
Yeah.
I know quite a bit of bankers, here. When you work in the medical management, like all the banks want to come and lend you money. But I'm just the management, but the doctors
Right.
are the ones that need to. But I, throughout the
No,
years,
that's a good idea. As much as I hate to admit it, my idea of raising funds was like selling the rodent coil frames, but I don't think that's gonna cut it. That's not gonna raise enough money.
that's pennies compared to the real estate.
Yeah, that's pennies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just it's not. But when you compare it to the real estate, it scales down like to pennies. If you really want to make good,
Right.
it's
like
money, real money, and then money that
you'd have to grind a lot.
and money that you keep. Like, remember, there's always it's building. Real estate also, like, that money is not going away. Like, you pay back into your loan and it's yours. There's like, at the end of the day, if the tenants, whoever's leasing from you, they're paying lease, so that money is going into your principal. And the principal is building up. So at the end of the day, you have equity. Like, you're building equity into that real estate. It's not, so, and if you lease it out, like literally it multiplies by 5.
Wow.
Here, a lot of
No, that's a good idea. I like that.
of developers and business, like, builders will buy something like, worth like $1 million, and all they have to do is like come up with 200,000. They'll buy something worth $1 million, lease out 51%, and all automatically it's worth between $5 to $7 million, like, within months. And all they had to invest was like 200 grand. It's crazy, but it is what it is. That's what real estate is. Now, talking about the kids' college fund. See, I saved for my kids' college fund like $250,000. But the problem is with this: the minute that they know that you have reserve money, a problem will happen in your life that will force you to liquidate it. So it's not really the best way to, the best way is actually to invest in safe stocks, the ones that are, low risk, not the ones.
Mostly the ones that I do are all like Canadian mutual funds, and basically a medium risk. So you can actually designate how much exposure you want that to the marketplace, right? So you minimize your losses along the way. The good thing is the government will add another 30% to the, what your final, investment will be at, just prior to them.
Do they tax for it?
No, that's a great thing because it is educational. Now, there's another one called the RRSP, Retirement Savings Fund. The second you pull that money out, you get taxed 30%.
It's like the IRAs.
Yeah, like before you even see your money, they take 30% off of what you get from your investments. So it's a double-edged sword. They say, oh yeah, it's a retirement fund, but your retirement fund, when you go to collect when you're 65, guess what? They charge you that an income tax because you have to claim that on your income tax as a taxable income. So it doesn't matter if you pull it out early or you pull it out when you're 65. the government's still going to get their fingers in there and pull out 30% taxes off it.
How about if you
it makes it really impossible for the Canadian to save for their retirement using this fund when they know the second they pull it out, the government's already got their grubby fingers all over it.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for you to make any kind of capital gains whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the RSP,
it's like taking 2 steps ahead and 1 step back.
More like 1 step forward, 3
They
steps
don't
back.
Or did I? Yeah, I said that. Was my bad.
Yeah, it's even worse.
Do they
It's not even worth it.
you a grace period to reinvest it before it becomes capital gain?
Say you're transferring it from say one account to a different account. Or say like a company gives you a buyout.
Okay.
Like I got a buyout from a company I worked for. I had over 24 years there, so I had a private pension. So I wanted to take my money out of that private pension and put it into my pocket, not theirs, because at that time they were kind of losing money on the fund. So they held on to it for 2 years after I left the company. Then I was allowed to put it in a tax shelter in a RRSP locked in. So now with that provision in place, I can't touch that money till I'm 55. So that's 4 years from now. I can actually pull that money out if I want to.
And what is the percentage of gain like that they can
get? Right now it's growing. Like my mutual fund for that locked in right now is actually doing pretty good right now. Touch wood. It's doing good. So I figure, you know what? I'm just going to leave it there and let it grow because it seems to be making money right now. But when I turn 55, I do have the option of pulling it out if I want to. But the catch-22 one more time is the second you do that, they want 30% tax taken off it.
Even after 55?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what is the cutoff age that they won't tax you? Is it like here the States?
There is none. There is none.
See, here in the state, like if you're after 65, it's tax free. You don't have to pay any taxes.
Yeah. See with us, you have to file it as a taxable income. So say like my father, he's 83, right? So at a certain point in those, retirement years, they say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, Dad, you have to pull out now 30% of your investments. So they're actually forcing my father to pull money out. And the second they pull money out of his account, they can tax him because it's a taxable income. So all this money my dad's accumulated over the years, he's in his early 80s now.
That sounds
the poor guy's getting taxed. My dad's getting taxed through the wazoo for all that money he put into RSPs over the years, and the government's screwing him on the way out.
Jeez.
I think it's better here in the States. They're at a certain age, 65. You don't like on your IRAs, you don't get taxed anymore, and there's no penalty.
Yeah, I wish that was here. Now we do have one investment. It's called a tax-free savings account, but the problem is there's no growth in it. They don't expose it to the open market, so you can make capital gains on it. So you got this money going into a tax-free savings account. You can pull it out anytime and not get taxed for it. But the problem is it doesn't get exposed to the mutual fund market to grow. You're not making money.
And they don't give you the option to choose how you want to invest, like mutual funds or like
no. They don't give you any options. They don't give you the options. That's the crazy part.
There's a limit. There's a limit you can deposit on that.
That's right. And they cap a limit every year how much you're allowed to put in it.
I think here's
it's the whole system's rigged. I'm telling you, just the whole freaking system is rigged right from the bottom up. It really is, and it's global too. It doesn't matter if you're Canadian or Australian or English or American or South American. All the system, the whole monetary system globally is completely rigged.
Yeah. If I were to invest in something, I would invest in the computer chips from Taiwan, like the ones that they manufacture for all our cell phones, all our computers, everything. That particular, chip making company, that's who I would invest with, because there's a monopoly on it, and they're the only ones that, most of the, like I'm saying, 90% of the countries worldwide use those companies from Taiwan to manufacture anything that has a microchip in it. And they're gonna just keep on going up and up and up, and I think this is gonna be where most of the money, globally, is gonna be made. That
the
company.
way the way I see it, and I hate to be a real pessimist on this, it seems like the way they've basically built the whole entire world global monetary system is rigged against the poor guy and in favor of the rich man. The rich man will always have the upper hand.
There was
rigged
when you
against
have
intelligent people. If you have a high IQ, problems will follow you no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Once they know you have a little bit more intelligence than the average person, they will put you through hoops and loops, just never to let you get ahead.
That's right. That's right. They're always pushing us down in order they can feed.
I was going to say real quick, there was a famous economist, I forget who it was, but he basically, one of his quotes was, and I like this quote, he's like, if most people realized where money comes from, there will be riots in the streets because they just print it. It comes from nowhere.
Yeah, it's fiat. It's people don't realize all the money that's out there today. It doesn't matter what country the money's from. It's fiat. It doesn't exist.
I think Mike is
to a certain level, because I read this. So this is how money is justified. Every marriage, that when two people get married, the government influxes an amount of money for that contract. When a birth happens, a birth certificate has a value. When you write a business plan and submit it to the bank submits it to the Treasury Department, and they will influx money into the system. It's a scalable factor where they say, okay, if this business is going to thrive, it's going to need, a yay amount of money for it to, be influxed into the system. So it becomes a revolving thing where, it's going to make money. So there are things that they do print money to allocate it for. So, I don't know about the politicians. Yeah, of course, they can print as much as they want. But for normal human beings, those bills that, get printed are in their ledgers. This, like that series or those, is meant for a particular business plan or a human or the thrivability of a family. So there is a how am I going to say this? There is a ledger where the money is allocated, but there's also a black budget that, we have no knowledge about. But, for the normal thing, like when a birth happens, it's $100,000 that gets influxed into the economy.
I like to make the analogy of our economy running smoothly, like the money acts like oxygen in a system, right? It works best if it's flowing through the system from one hand to the from one hand to the next, right? When money stays stagnant for too long and in too large of quantity, you see instabilities in the economy. Like when not rich people, but super rich people hoard their wealth, that's a lot of taxes you're taking away, and then you have to make up those taxes somewhere. So you do regressive tax systems where you kind of nail the smaller guy. You increase the workers taxes to make up the difference.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But this goes back to my point, like even small businesses that don't really seem like they have a function in society, they do play a function because they transfer that money from one hand to another. It's stimulating local economies.
Yeah, it creates a GDP and things like that. And but that's the thing.
That's why I love small businesses.
Yeah, the elites and these rich people, they don't want to lose control. They want to stay in power. So the more they
that's very obvious. That's very obvious.
Any hierarchy of top-down power is going to ensure the conditions of its own existence, whether the entities themselves are aware of it or not.
Yeah.
The other analogy I had too was that they have to keep us below so they can control the top. It's always been a power struggle. It doesn't matter if it has to do with the monetary system or oil, gas, whatever, all
Yeah.
the energy sector. And the problem is now, one guy used to call it, it's like corporate fascism. Okay. And it's showing its ugly head big time, especially in the United States now. You got these special business interests on Wall Street, BlackRock, all these corporations have a huge influence on governments, like where the government almost doesn't even have the control. They got people that they answer to now, right? So where's the sovereignty here in a nation? If say the government of the United States or the government of Canada
Right.
cannot
I
call
can
the
come in.
shots in their own country, it's crazy.
Right, I can donate $5 to a political candidate, but that's nothing compared to like the millions a super PAC can donate to them,
Right. Yeah, it's the lobbying,
Yeah.
right? That's where it all kind of started with the lobbying. And it's been going on for 100 years.
That's
this is nothing new.
that's why they want to shut down or silence groundbreaking innovation like what you're doing, the 0 point energy or the anti-gravity, because
Right.
it destabilizes their system.
That's
And-
right. So that's why this conversation, usually a conversation like this, I wouldn't really want on a show like this, but because it relates to us in a very deep way, for us
I
to
agree.
innovate. So yes, this is a good conversation to have on a science channel. That we did.
No, I
right?
absolutely agree.
Because it's a very
Economics
big
is
part
very
of it.
important.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and
there's been,
that's a factor that I don't think a lot of inventors take into account. And that's I think not analyzing the economic situation is a lot of the inventors' downfall, in my opinion. Because we see a lot of inventors, they either try to go straight to market without open sourcing the science, and they just get shut down at every angle. And I think the route is to kind of open source the science behind it and then try to market it. Try to come up with something after the fact.
Well,
because if you open source it,
I think a free enterprise is a good thing. Look at the Chinese since say 1975 to the present. That country has completely transformed itself from basically a real dirty third world country.
Yeah, their GDP is twice ours.
So like it can be done, and they were big on free enterprise. It was a communist government, but there was a lot of free enterprise there, and there was a lot of poor people that became rich. So
right, it's more nuanced. Like it's government, but you got to look at a case by case basis. Like what are they doing individually, and what their policies are. You can't just blanket label it all communist and it's all bad. What exactly are they doing? And then you can kind of like reverse engineer and say, how can I apply that to an American philosophy, under our constitutional rights and abiding by American principles?
Well, you're not allowed to.
Not adaptation.
China buys ports. We're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
China goes around, buys ports, puts their people in place, and then they take over an industry in other countries. We're not allowed to do that in the U.S. Trust me.
It's a kind of soft power.
We
Like
own
what we
a lot
see in the
more.
United States is, we see a hard power with the United States, but with them, they'll go over and they'll build ports and build, infrastructure, and then kind of get their power that way, get their input.
That's what I'm saying. We're not allowed to do that here in the U.S. We're not allowed to put our influence in that way. We always have to backdoor things through the CIA to get anything done.
Right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You're just not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of the countries around us that should be, parts of the U.S. aren't. And it really sucks. We tie our own hands and we get screwed by it.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. That's an apt assessment.
I think the big problem now is with our governments that they're getting too imposing on the family, where it's like you feel like there's a government agent sitting in your family room. You know what I mean? Watching everything that you do. And that scares me because that's basically totalitarianism.
Well, that comes in cycles, though. It keeps coming, you know what I mean? Every 10, 15 years, it comes in. if you lived in the 50s and then came to now, oh my God, the whole world would be completely different. What they complained about then was nothing compared to what it is now.
Yeah,
You
they'd be
know?
horrified. They'd be horrified to see what we have now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to deal with.
Oh, if they
Yes.
saw, what they're pushing in these kids' schools and stuff like that, and their
Oh, they'd
bathrooms,
be
and
rolling in their
scaring them.
graves.
Oh my God, their school would be shut down. They wouldn't have any students there.
Like
Yeah.
what
Not
I
one.
see, what I see
Yeah,
happening in the public school system now, especially
the
in
woke
Canada
culture.
and the US, it's just horrifying what they're doing now.
Man, the
Like-
schools here it's a institution not of education. It's an
That's
institution
right.
of criminalization. You
Yeah.
know,
They're teaching people how to be good criminals.
They do
No,
the
they
opposite.
they try to criminalize kids at a young age in order for them to get their fingerprints, get their picture, get their whole data before they're even adults. Do you understand?
Well, that
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Social Security.
I
s-
went and
That's an aspect I
went
didn't even.
to school.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know what they
Of education, not you guys are running an institution of criminalization. Why would you, if a kid is in the hallway, they write them up. If a kid is talking in class,
Yeah, it's like being in jail.
and
It
yeah,
really is.
and then so many write-ups, they send you to something called ISS. I don't know what that stands for, but it's like for juvies. It's like as if they're
Even when I
criminals.
went to high school,
And I'm
even when I went to high school, if you got in a fight, if somebody came up to you and started punching you and you didn't do anything to them, you both got suspended.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and I was giving them some theorems at the school. I'm like, do you teach this in your school? And she looked at me like what the heck are you talking about? I'm like, this is an education system. Should you be focusing on this rather? If the kid is doing this or talking to their friend or passed a note or laughed at a joke or this or that, I'm like, are you guys an education system or just like a parole system? In a way. And they got pissed off at me. They got so angry at me. I'm like, if you guys don't, step up your game, I'm going to call the Department of Education and I'm going to file a lawsuit against you if you guys are not, because this, man, I went
Yeah.
off on that.
like
Wow.
going with the social insurance number or your social security number. Know how the banks use your social security number? Okay, when you're born, they issue you, your social insurance number or whatever, right? Well, when the government wants to borrow money from the private banking corporations, they have to put a bond. Guess who the bond is? You, your children. They issue
Wow.
they issue your social insurance number to the private banking corporations as a bond. That's what we are.
Wow.
We
Yeah.
are a bond. We are
But
a
you know,
commodity.
Dude, that's
you-
really depressing. You're depressing me with that.
Sorry.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I just call
No,
just,
you're good. You're good. I needed
just
to
call
hear it. I needed to hear it.
just call me
Let's
Dr.
get back to
Doom.
having no more money for inventors.
Just call me
Yeah.
Dr. Doom. And yeah.
Review the
Hey,
SIE
Mike
Series
is
7
waiting.
for financial, like to become a financial advisor, and will like your hair will turn gray on the thing. Like I reviewed that test. I was going to become a financial advisor, and so I studied for the test. But after I studied, I didn't. I felt like I was going to become a merchant of death, not a person that's going to be doing good, because the laws and regulations that they have, it gives these institutions like ultimate power over the human being. Like you become pretty much God, whether you decide a person's fate, a family's future, a business's, whether it's a good idea. And how would you know? Just
Well, look
because,
how we put these celebrities on pedestals. They think they can get away with anything, and
but
they
you're not
can.
understanding. It's a stupid test that anybody could pass, and then it gives you the ultimate power to dictate people's lives. That is what it is. And I didn't know if I was gonna. I felt guilty if I was going to pass and dictate people's lives. How would I know, whether you deserve that or you don't? Do you understand? Or your idea is good or not? It's if I like the person, they look okay, that, yeah, I give them the loan. If not, if somebody, I don't. And there's no guidelines, there's no rules. It's just because I passed the test, I got the certificate, this license, I get to dictate the rules. You get it? There's no merits behind anything. There's not like when they say it's somebody's gonna underwrite your loan. Well, guess what? The underwriter, there is no criteria. It's just if they like you. That's just the criteria.
Wow. Oh, okay, I see what you're
I'm just
saying
gonna-
now. So it's on their whim.
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
I'm just gonna scoot up for a quick smoke. You guys carry on.
It's really
Gerald's here
wrong.
on the.
Like
Hey, Gerald.
What's
Can you
up,
hear me
Gerald?
now?
My mic is there too.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear
I
me?
can only have 6 people on. I don't have the paid account,
Uh-huh.
so I'm limited to 6 right now.
would
But,
you like me, if you'd like I could step out for a little bit and watch,
No, I just wanna say something to you to respond.
Yes.
The education system, the problem with the education system these days, they do exactly the opposite of what they need to do because they don't teach it. What they need to do is teach economy in classes like that, but no, instead they teach like that woke culture shit, and they create confusion in the kids' minds. Confusion is exactly the opposite of what you need to have to succeed. If you don't know what you want, you're never gonna succeed, and you're never gonna be
Right, you
able
need
to
critical
survive.
thinking skills, and that's what they do not teach.
Can
Critical
you hear me
thinking
now?
skills.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're gonna hit a wall when they come to the commercial sector when they get out of school. They were not preparing them, you know.
No, not at all. They don't even teach them how a credit card works, your bank works, check,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what?
anything.
I hate to say it this way, but most people actually don't understand how the banking system works. Did you know that on the day of your birth, if you were born at, say, 7 pounds, that the Roman Catholic Church, because of the order with the Queen, when it was all back to Magna Carta, was supposed to give you your weight in gold as of the day of your birth. But because they set up this big system with social insurance numbers, you're now a dead man's bones until you claim yourself as a human being, as blood, bone and flesh and blood that runs through it. That's why I have no ID. I have no license, no nothing. I can't buy a house. I can't buy a car, nothing, because I got my original social insurance number from the Vatican when I was 12 years old, and it was put in a safe. That safe's gone.
Wow.
So now I can't get ID. There's a mechanism where I can get like a temporary ID, but I still can't do any trading, buying of houses, nothing. Everybody
You've been
seems
locked out.
Where do you live?
that's the thing. So is the mark that everybody talks about, and I know not everybody believes in that, and I get it, but is the mark something that actually is imprinted in your hand? Or is it something that you have in your mind, like your social insurance number, and you use your right hand to write it down every time you get a job, or every time you have to open up a bank account or apply for a loan, or
By Mark, you're talking about the terminology that
there's
they're
more
using?
than terminology. There's a law that most people don't even think about or understand.
Right,
See,
but I understand they phrase things very specifically, and that's what you're going into?
yes, because the government runs under maritime law, and we think that they run under common law, but they don't. And that's how they catch us. That's how they're
all floating in.
Are you talking about the Canadian government, U.S. government?
No, all around the world, dude. It's a worldwide
The
system.
U.S. government does it, yeah.
All the social insurance
laws
numbers
for-
and all your guys' security numbers they come from the Vatican. They're all being held in Rome.
That's crazy. I believe it.
There's a whole system
I'll
that
have to
most
do some
people
research
don't
on that for
understand
sure.
that's sitting behind the scenes. And if you don't play along with that system, you're not able to buy or sell anything. I don't have a social insurance number anymore. I can't buy or sell anything
What
at all
country
that's large.
are you in?
What's that?
What country are you in?
I'm in Canada.
Canada.
But don't kid yourself. The States is exactly the same. Go get
Yeah,
your
no, I've known people who
social
got locked
insurance
out of the
number.
system.
Yeah, I'm locked out completely. There's
Because
nothing I can do.
there was a situation where I knew somebody, and it turns out they were adopted from South America, and it was a legal adoption. They didn't go through the proper channels. They just kind of took the baby and got like illegal credentials. And because of that, the baby grew up and she didn't have a way into the system if she loses, you know, those, if she had to like get like a social security card, she couldn't.
Yep. Yep. I have a whole binder. I studied this for about 8 years. That like
I have a question. If all of us go to the Vatican and say, "Hey, cough up our money. This is the law."
there
What would they
hasn't there I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Lily.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying if all of us go to the Vatican, like a group of us, like you're saying, like our identities are locked up in the Vatican.
Yep.
But you know, if you go as one individual, they'll call you insane. But if you go as a group, they can't say, "Oh, the whole group is insane." And
Okay,
your
but
You're
this is how
onto
they-
something. You're
this
onto
is how they
something
get
because
around-
that's
Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
no, I'm sorry.
No,
No,
go
you go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, so this is how they get around that. You're not classified as alive. You try going into a courtroom and telling them that when they ask you for your name, you say, "I am the trustee that holds that name. I am flesh and blood, or I'm flesh and bone, and blood runs through it." And that judge will get up and run out of that courtroom so fast, it'll make your head spin, because you now have declared that you're alive. And he can't allow you to do that, because if you do that, he doesn't get paid for being in
So,
court.
so if I pick up my shoe and I smack him in the head with it, what happens? Is he gonna?
You're going to get charged.
Well, but yeah,
If-
I'm dead.
if-
I'm dead. Are you gonna charge a dead person if they think of me? As a dead
No,
person?
it doesn't work that way.
You know.
The way that their law system works, they classify you as dead so that every time you make a mistake and you go to court and you say, "I plead guilty," they take your name and they attach it to the Vatican, and they get paid a piece of your gold behind the scene that you're not aware
Well,
of.
I'll tell
Going
you.
back
how
to
they've
what
been
you were
working.
saying,
I
going
got
back
into
to what you were saying,
time and not in trouble, but I was requested to go to court because one of my kids through the school got in trouble. And I went there and I took the Constitution with me, the Constitution, the book. And I told the judge, "I abide by the rules of this book, not whatever rules you have in front of you." And she had to drop the case. I didn't know what, somebody told me that this would be a good idea because I don't know exactly every rule in the Constitution, but the rules in the Constitution abide by maritime laws. So you're absolutely right about that. And, explain to me later. But when I held the Constitution in my hand, I told her I abide by this book, not on what you have in front of you. Within like 30 minutes, they had to drop the case, and they dropped the case. So
Interesting. I've never seen the Constitution used that way.
I-
The last time that I was involved in a court in the States, and it wasn't me personally, it was a family member, they had issues because the Constitution didn't work for them. They were literally bypassed completely because of the way that maritime law works and the way that the court system works. If you, when they arrest you and they say, you have a right to remain silent, and then you say, "Can you use against you in a court of law?" And when they ask you, "Do you understand these rights?" you absolutely 100 million % say no. And they're going to say, "What don't you understand about these rights?" And what you say to them after that is, "Me and 1,000 lawyers could take 10 years to take apart this law and still wouldn't understand these rights." Because what you're saying is, I don't believe in the rights that you're dishing out, because what you're dishing out is part of your court system, not part of common law and the Constitution. There's a big difference.
Exactly. This is why when that person that told me, you tell them that you follow the Constitution, not the laws that they have in front of them, because the judge has some piece of paper in front of them, and this is what they're applying on you as law, and that is not right. And so, but the Constitution is right. So when you tell them I abide by the constitutional law, not by the laws that you have in front of you, it discredits
and all those exceptions that they make are all based on precedent, like because somebody got away with it before, they can get away with it again. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't work that way. It really goes down to the exact words you say from the point of arrest to the point of standing before the judge.
Oh, okay.
Because
Also, there's something with when they handcuff you and you put your hands behind your back, it follows a different protocol when they put the handcuffs in front of you. You know, like,
the handcuffs in front of your back are a key Freemason slavery ritual in order to walk you in shame to the court.
okay, so this is what I did. I'm so skinny to the point where I could flip the handcuffs, over and have them in the front. So they handcuffed me to the back, and I went, and I put them to the front. And they're like, "Oh, you're not allowed to do that." I'm like, "Okay, take them back and put them back on." They did it again. I did it, flipped again. I'm like, we could do this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
If you're gonna handcuff me, my hands are gonna be in front, not in the back. And they were so pissed off at me. But
yeah, I almost got a beating for that once because I have a dislocated, messed up hand, right? So I just broke the thumb, so to speak, and just pulled the cuff off. It doesn't matter how tight you put them on. And I had pulled it off and I was scratching my nose, and the cop didn't like that so much. So
I did that. I gave them the cuff back, located my thumbs, and
I mean, that was a long time ago when I was a kid, but I studied the law because I realized when I was young, I got pulled over in a truck. We had just painted this truck, did the motor up, put Krieger SST mags on it, new stereo and everything. But I was going through a divorce, and my ex had called the cops and said I had a gun in the truck. So they surrounded the truck, and I was driving it to go get it insured. And they surrounded the truck with guns, and it was a big deal. And then when they got me down on the ground and handcuffed me, and they would put me in the car and they read me my rights, I told them exactly what I told you. They brought me to the station and they tried to read me my rights again. And I told them, I said, look, I'm my father's son. I was born from, what did I say? I was born from bone and flesh, and I have blood running through it. God is my father, and I don't listen to your rule. I've done nothing wrong. Release me. Not only did I get released, but I got asked to stay for 5 minutes so the captain of the force could talk to me. They released me. I was out the front door. The captain came out, apologized, and asked me nicely not to sue his detachment, because if I had, it might have shut them down. I didn't quite understand what was going on at the time. I kind of had a gist, and I told him, I said, I'm not about that. I believe in the law. I just don't believe in the abuse of the law.
See,
and I
like,
left him alone
first
and
of
left.
all, abuse. I did absolutely nothing wrong. Like, one of them was because we got out of the club at 2:15 instead of 2:00. Cops were standing out there like, "Oh, it's past club hours, and we're gonna arrest everybody that's coming out." Like, really?
Yeah, that's called a curfew, and that's
that's insane.
that's communist.
Well,
Yeah,
right. You can look at the cop and say, "Go right ahead. I'll have your badge, and I'll
authoritarian for sure
for everything that they own."
Do you understand?
You go right ahead.
Absolutely nothing wrong. We just stepped out, and they arrested everybody. Like, it's like, really? Like, what did we do?
Yeah. George Carlin, the comedian, had the best saying. He goes, "It's not that you have rights, you have privileges, limited privileges, and every year those privileges are getting taken away from you." And people got to wake up.
I don't believe in privileges. I believe in rights, because I believe we were all born under God. And any man that tries to tell me what to do, I don't care if you have a gun. I don't care if you have a bazooka. I don't care what you have on you. You can go outside and play hide and go yourself, if you know what I mean. Because I don't attest to that. If you ask me to do something nicely, of course I will. Why wouldn't I? I'm not doing anything wrong. But you go and tell me to do something, that's another story. Right? I don't believe that any man should force another man, or a woman force another woman, person, whatever, their will upon another. That's wrong. You ask them and they don't want to do it, back off. Being a cop and all that other crap, like, I can't imagine what they go through, but they know, unfortunately, that the public doesn't know the law. And unfortunately, the public doesn't know how to treat them, because they know the law. And if they did, then these guys wouldn't be acting like stormtroopers and abusing their authority. See, I believe in the law. I just don't believe in the abuse of the law. I think that's.
You know what? I can go as far as believing in a
But the law isn't
structured
always
system.
right.
Yeah, well, this is called abuse of power, right? And
Yeah.
you're seeing it
Yeah.
over and over and over, and it doesn't matter what country you live in.
Mm.
I do believe in having a structured, lawful society. I do believe that, but the problem is too many people at the top are abusing the privileges.
Yeah, and they're putting out too many laws, which is
Yeah.
making it like a control system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where our society, and like great civilizations have come and gone, for whatever reason. And
Yeah, nothing's stagnant.
and
Nothing's stagnant.
You know what? We're not immune to it either.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mike,
and life is about
I'm gonna
adaptation.
Step out so Mike Doss can come in because I
No,
want
that's fine. I
to
can- I
talk
can-
about
I can
quantum.
step out instead.
Sorry, I cut you off there, Lulu.
No, I was saying I'm gonna step out, but I'll be still listening in. So Mike Doss can join because he's been, I think, wanting to join for the past like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. But I'll still
Okay.
watch you guys. But I'm gonna step out, but watch the show from backstage.
Yeah, you can still go in the live chat there. Yeah.
All right. I don't know how to get out of here. Hold on.
Yeah. Just log. Yeah. There you
Go ahead, Phil.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
Add
Yeah.
link here.
Here's Mike.
Yeah, I'm limited to 6 people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I am actually not like a full subscriber to stream.
Hey, guys.
Just using the free software. Hey, Mike. So
Mike.
Hey,
Gee,
Mike.
did your research, huh, Gerald?
yeah, there's a
What's
few
that?
people out there that have done what Gerald has done.
I can
And
tell you did your research, Gerald.
Yeah, I wrote it actually on paper so that I could memorize it.
It really is
Well,
depressing.
know what it
Nice. You
classifies
committed it to
you?
memory. I like
It
that.
is. It's called a free man walking.
Yeah, but if you use that term, you'll be classified as a terrorist.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah. You can't even use sovereign citizen anymore either. It's the same thing. They classified that as
That's the problem with the justice system is these days the judges, they have too much discretion, How can you...
Oh yeah,
One
you gotta
thing-
watch your mouth in there, man.
One thing I really don't understand is the hate crime. How can you tell what people had on his mind while he attacks somebody else,
A little respect and what do you call it? Humbleness.
Yeah,
but
hate crime's just another-
hate is not an action. It's a it's an emotional state of mind. You
those
can-
hate crime laws. Those are just another form of control from the top down. That's all they are.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
can be used too indiscriminately. They're such a load of crap. Yes.
Yeah, I know. So they just add that to add like discretion to the judge, so in case the judge doesn't like you, then you're just gonna say, oh, you just did a hate crime. We're gonna double your sentence or whatever.
Good luck getting me in a courtroom. I'll say to that. Because I'm
No,
not standing before no judge. I'll never allow a judge
Hey,
ever allow a judge to reside over me again. You know what he is? He's a civil servant.
Gerald,
He's not even a
He's a
trust.
front. He's a front man for the banks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
he's
what
banks are
he
the ones-
is? All he is there to make sure procedure runs through. When he opens his big mouth that steps outside procedure, you guys need to step on it like a bug.
well, you
And
got a
watch
point
that
there,
guy
Gerald.
wall.
but still,
Wow.
As long
most
as you know
judges-
what.
most judges follow that protocol, Gerald. I mean, come on.
What's that?
They're
Most judges do that. They
Yep,
they
they
stick
have
to the case.
If
That's
you
their that's the
literally,
whole job.
they work for the banks. They're
if
the
you're
front
able
man.
to declare yourself as a living being, do you realize what's going to happen to that
Occasionally,
judge?
you have a judge that's corrupt and they don't stick to the case and they get biased. And that happened here in my county recently. They just the female judge, I don't remember her name.
There's certain
They
words that if
included
you
her for
repeat-
being biased against the case. Onto the I guess it was the plaintiff side. She was biased. She lost.
Hey,
her
Mike, if there's certain words that you repeat to the judge, he'll get up and he'll walk out. He'll come back in. You repeat those words again, he'll get up and walk out, will not come back. Because on the third time, if he comes and sits down, and you repeat those same words, you are now declared living flesh, and he's screwed. That will tear apart the whole court
I've heard
system.
about those words. I don't remember what they are, but I've heard of them.
I am bone and flesh, and blood runs through it. I am a living
Oh, that's
being,
right.
and I hold that name in trust. And you watch I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
You know what it is scripture, signing your name, that's necromancy. Okay?
Yeah.
So you're saying you're dead every time you sign your name or write in necromancy.
Well,
You're just-
kind
you're
of.
burning
You're
yourself
a
dead.
bond. You're a bond.
Well,
But
think about this,
the birth
okay?
certificate is in scripture.
It goes back to when the ships were leaving, and you would go to the captain, because the captain be sitting there by the plank, and you'd have to make your mark to get onto the ship so he could take you to travel to wherever, because those ships didn't always make it. So what would happen is you're giving your mark, and anything that happens to you signs away your life.
That's
So
right.
now
Yeah.
you're dead man's
I remember
bones,
reading about that.
Yeah,
and
you
you're on
have
a
a
ship.
little more detail than I do on this topic.
Yeah, so
Correct.
because you make your mark,
Sounds familiar.
you've now literally signed away your life. You're no longer alive, and they own you. So you have
Well,
to.
I mean, as soon as you get on that vessel, you might end up dead. You know, that's how risky it
Yeah,
is.
exactly. So that's how they based all this law. It's crazy, but that's literally what they believe. And if they believe it, hey, they're the ones that run it.
How
Right.
many people? How many people in the
wasn't so
system
much the
actually
sea
are
that
aware of
moved them.
this, though?
Quite a few actually. There's a
Are they like
special-
concentrated at the very top?
kind of.
Yeah.
There's a very special ID called the Sovereign Citizen Card. Very, very hard to get your hands on. It takes a long time, and you have to go through all kinds of channels. But once you do, you can actually declare yourself a small country, and you're tax free.
Well,
Forever.
each ship is a country.
Wait, so wherever you walk, that's your country?
Every ship
It
on the
doesn't
sea
Or do you
quite
have to be
work.
like in a specific place?
No, you don't have to be in a specific place, but it doesn't quite work like that. It's more like your flag, your declaration, who you are, and what name you hold in trust. And that's kind of how it works. It's a whole legal mechanism that's put into play that declares that you're your own country.
I don't think I fully understand. I'm gonna have to do some research.
Every
on this
vessel at sea is a country.
Yes, but because you've made your mark, you're now just dead man's bones on someone
That's why
else's
they focused
vessel.
on building carriers, because it's literally a country.
I know this sounds crazy. There's more detail than that. Like
According
I
to
said,
maritime law, and there's things about sea lanes. Certain sea lanes cannot be. You can't be on there more than 10 minutes. So if you remember back a few years ago, China, every now and then they put aircraft in the air and they fly into no fly zone. That's the lanes I'm talking about on the sea. They exist in the air as well, above that same sea area. So when they do fly in those areas, and they don't stay longer than 10 minutes, they get out at minute 9 because they know the law, the maritime law. They're just scaring people.
I'll give you guys a little tip. When you see a country making a press conference, say Trudeau or even your country's head of state, look at the flags, how they're folded, and if there's gold frill that's showing. If the gold frill is showing, that means what they're speaking is maritime law, and they're actually going to do something.
Have you
If
heard of
there's
quantum
no
grammar,
frill,
Joe?
hang on a
This is
second. There's no
wild.
frill showing. That means that they're bullshitting, and they're talking about a cross between common law and maritime law, and you have to watch. It's almost like not being sneaky, but they're not telling you the truth either. Now, what was it that you asked me, Mike?
Have you heard of quantum grammar?
No, that I haven't heard of.
Quantum
Have you heard the
grammar?
name Russell J. Gould
Yes.
or David Wynn Miller?
Oh yeah, David Wynn Miller.
Okay,
That guy's like my legal hero, man.
all right.
That
Those are the guys that
rocks.
created
Who are these
quantum
guys?
grammar.
David
They
Wynn
created
Miller was
quantum
the
grammar.
first. Yeah, he
Russell
was
J.
the guy
Gould is
that
the Postmaster General right now. He took over
Exactly,
the world
but
in
he's dead now,
1999. Nobody knows this.
hey,
He did
David
it with
Wynn Miller
Cold
died.
Coin and the Vatican and all the seaports. He went there and was with quantum grammar contract, and he found some errors in the previous contracts between the Royal British Royal Empire and the West, particularly. And
and he went and fixed it. I don't know why he went and did that.
so you know that C symbol with the 2 lines to it?
Yeah.
That is a British syntax that belongs to the Queen or the Royal Empire, and it's on all your, leases and purchase contracts in this country. So a percentage of money of those transactions goes to the Queen, including the parking lots, the parking meters, and all that stuff related.
Well,
to
she ain't no queen of mine. She's dead now, and I don't acquire to that prince that.
Well, that ended in 1999 thanks to Russell J. Gould. He went with gold coin and proper contract to the Vatican at the right time, and the right day, and the right second. And
he was the only one.
And he became the new Postmaster General because you're supposed to renew your seat every 100 years.
Even though he was the Postmaster General, he could have unleashed.
Okay, he's the guy they put on TV in the orange jumpsuit and declared him. And this was in the 90s. The Bushes did this.
Sorry, guys. You know what? Not everybody understands what we're talking about, Mike.
I need to.
Some people saw him though on TV in the orange jumpsuit.
Well, I can't understand anything when somebody talks over somebody. So you gotta let somebody talk.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so they put him on TV as a defector to Islam, American defector to Islam in an orange jumpsuit, and they beat the hell out of him for taking the seat of Postmaster General, and then they finally let him go, and now he's doing well, and he's the Postmaster General, the new Postmaster General, and he invalidated the old contract between the Queen because their grammar was incorrect.
Explain real quick what a Postmaster General does or what their role is.
They control the sea lanes and seaports where armies and naval forces can fight their wars.
Oh, wow.
He can change laws.
And because he knew
how to whether a war takes place or not.
Because he knew the esoteric ways of how to acquire that role.
He's a good lawyer.
He got it. Like you said, he arrived at a specific time, at a specific date.
Yeah, well, the person he's talking about, his
partner David Wynn Miller
he's studying under David Wynn Miller, and David Wynn Miller was the one that figured all this out. The guy was a genius. He was firing on all cylinders.
He knew a bunch of languages too, right?
And what exactly did he figure out?
Well, David Wynn Miller apparently, he was like a savant of some kind, and he said himself that he thinks he was cloned. But anyway, he knew like a bunch of languages, like a lot.
He knew them all.
Was it all of them?
Yeah, except for 2, I think.
Yeah, he knew like a lot of languages.
Yeah, there were dialects that weren't written down. He's
the guy who put together quantum grammar, and Russell J. Gould was his main partner in this whole.
He had an absolute photographic memory,
and they used the quantum grammar to get the seat as Postmaster General.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
you needed to bring a certain amount of gold coins, and they had to be certain types of gold coins.
Let me look that up. That's interesting. That is really interesting.
At all the major seaports, the Vatican is one, and there's like one in Gibraltar, Spain, and there's all these certain seaports around the world where you have to go and take that seat. That seat controls the sea lanes and the shipping and import, export, everything.
Hang on a sec, Mike. There's a little more to it than that. David Wynn actually went to Rome, and they had to let him in, and he was actually in the Vatican vault because he figured out how maritime law, anybody and everybody who can figure this out can actually go and access the Vatican's vault, because they're under obligation to follow this law to the T. And he understood through what Ben had said, the esoteric symbols, how to literally go there, and they had to open it up to him. It's just like if I went there and showed them certain things, they have to let me in too.
Oh, by the way, David Wynn Miller was a Supreme Court judge. Like he was like top of the line, top judge, one of the top judges. Like not just an average judge, he was like Supreme Court judge.
Yeah, it was crazy. But we're talking about law, and we should be talking about science.
Exactly.
Well,
we're talking about that now.
Yeah. Anyway, my
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah, sorry, Nate.
Oh my
my
God.
bottom line is that there's too much discretion in the
Yeah, we
justice
got real
system,
sidetracked there.
and
Yeah.
that's what
And
that's
so
what
let's
screws everything up.
kind of segue into the patent office, okay? Because I think
Yeah.
this is pretty relevant.
You know,
I
my
know.
wife says I'm too fat as it is. I don't need to declare myself my own country. She said,
I love that. That's great.
yeah, get back to work. That's what she said. She's got the bullwhip and says, "Your government mule, keep working because you're
My
gonna
ass can class.
get your green cheese when you're done, buddy."
I'm right there with you. My ass can classify as its own country.
Mine's got a fault line right down the center of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, back to science,
So,
guys.
all right,
that's
so
fine.
we can still talk about the politics, but I think would be kind of good to discuss how the patent office is rigged. And we all know that Tom Valone was one of the people that worked in the patent office, and he was seeing free energy device after free energy device getting
I didn't know that.
suppressed. Through
Mhm.
yeah, he
Tom
was
worked
a
at the patent
whistleblower.
office.
Yeah, he worked at the patent office. He was a patent
Who? Tom
clerk.
DeLong?
Tom Valone.
Oh, Falone.
Yeah,
Alone.
Tom
He
Valone.
yeah, he does a lot
The-
of pieces
So-
on this alternative energy stuff.
Yeah, and he's seen a lot of these devices get basically kiboshed, and
Hmm.
he knew there was a criminal element involved in this, and he blew the whistle. So you can look him up and do some research on Tom Valone. So he worked for the U.S. Patent Office and seen several devices get, basically shoved in the drawer, so to speak, never to be opened up again. And he had to come out. His conscience got the better of him and said, this is wrong. These people should have the right to have a patent on their intellectual property. So
Is Tom Balone still alive?
Tom Valone, I believe he is.
Yeah, he is. He got
Yeah.
he's doing conferences every year with some
He's one of the first
space
guys I
and
heard.
energy, alternative energy. I posted on. He helped
did
me
a few-
post my first manuscript in you know.
He was
after-
also on
after a
Tesla Tech.
conference. Yeah,
He
after a
was on
conference.
Yeah.
After a
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah,
You
the
can
first one
publish
I
it.
What years did he? Do you remember? Did he work
Tesla
at the
Tech,
patent office specifically?
oh geez, that would probably be 1990s.
90s. Okay. Yeah, he might have been the fella that I seen in a couple of clips. There was a gentleman, I don't know his name, but he was in the documentary I was watching, and he's like, yeah, I saw the device, it put out more energy than it took in, and it was real. And he worked at the patent office, and I don't remember his name, but it might have been him.
Pretty
Hey,
sure.
Mike,
it
you
was
know
him.
how to use my account with your account and to make more guests?
No, it won't allow me to do it because I'm on a free account.
I have a 20. I can do 20 guests.
Yeah, but I want it like under my station that will go through my
There's
channel.
no way I can use it on your stream.
No, not with the free account. I did it with Bernie for a bit. I think he had like a voucher or whatever. I was able to do it for a
Oh.
while. But now when I try to connect to Bernie's channel, it won't allow me to do it because I have the free account. So,
Oh, and
but
you needed
if
a
I
voucher to do it.
yeah, he had
So
some
there is a
kind
way
of
to do it.
voucher. I think he had a free voucher that he could pull in another, say, somebody who's using the free.
Couple guests or whatever.
Right. Yeah. He did it for a short time, but I haven't been able to connect to his station for the last while. He can do it with mine, but I can't do it with him. So,
crazy.
yeah, because I want to kind of keep my name, the League of Extraordinary Inventors, as my own little brand. It's, I'm not a big channel, not like, Bernie's channel.
Yeah.
He's got a lot
You
more
need more exposure
subscribers.
for sure.
But I don't mind keeping my things small because I think it's more intimate. We got a regular guys that come on and light up my comments board, and it's been really active tonight. I've got a lot of great comments tonight. We
You
do
know,
have live.
Nathan and I shared a similar philosophy with the Monday podcast that we've been doing, and I think that's been working really well.
Sure, yeah. You know, Nathan's been getting a lot of hits. How many subscribers you got now, Nathan?
Like close to 4,400, something like that.
Oh, you're way past me.
4,400.
Oh God, you're way past me.
Yeah, it goes up, every month, like 400.
You know what? The
That's
anti-gravity thing gets better exposure than the free energy stuff. The free energy stuff is like freaking pulling
You know
teeth.
why? I think because it's just like a flooded market on YouTube. There's a lot of like just crap free energy videos,
Well, that they do that specifically to flood anything that is valid. So they'll give all the
Makes
best
sense.
algorithm to all the fake shit.
Yeah.
And anybody who's doing real stuff, they'll suppress and push you down and
Is that why
lose
I'm at-
subscriber. Oh, you're way down there, Gerald.
Is that why I'm at 692 subscribers?
Gerald,
I love my subscribers, okay? But
hey,
it'd be
Gerald,
nice to have a couple more.
Gerald, you're in the cores of the earth.
I think though there's a couple tricks that we can employ, increasing production value to just naturally grow. Like if I share it with people in real life, hey, come check out my channel. They can't suppress that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, mine goes up and down like a toilet seat. 1 week I'm getting a lot of hits, and then the next month I get hardly anything.
Right. A good idea, though, I think a lot of us should do is get business cards and then put your QR code right on the business card. So if you meet somebody who you think is interested in your channel, just give them the business card. They can scan it right there.
Yeah, I still get a lot of, I guess, a lot of skepticism with the stuff that I do.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The power cell stuff I think would create a lot more talk, but I'm kind of limited on how much I can really talk about that right now because we're working on some pretty innovative stuff that's going to really shake up the battery industry. Like my system's actually not a battery, it's a power cell. It produces power. It doesn't store power like a battery. A battery you can recharge. If you try to recharge my cell, you destroy it.
Huh.
So mine just puts out power. It's actually a solid state power plant.
It just doesn't store anything because it doesn't need to. It just puts out so much.
It creates power from basically the elements that I put in it. It's like awesome. A battery is a galvanic action and it has storage capacitance in the battery. My cell doesn't work like that. It doesn't have capacitive value, very little of
it. I'm definitely going to
power.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to feature all of your guys' devices to the extent that you want me to on Divine Science at some point. So that hopefully will get you guys some more exposure as well, because Divine Science has been a good hot topic on my channel.
Yeah, like right now, like the battery market, I've seen a lot of guys promoting these new companies coming up with new lithium batteries and new sodium batteries and new aluminum batteries and all that. But all of them are missing the big picture of what they're building. They're building tiny cells this big. If you make a cell this big, like say like the size of a photo record, the old records you used to put on a turntable. If you make them 12 inch by 12 inch, but they're only a quarter inch thick, and they're putting out 100 times more power than a little lithium battery, and they will last 10, maybe 20 years.
Is it good? Does it go back to the geometry and how you separate the charges?
It's quantum tunneling is what it is.
Huh.
You're creating
that one.
But they couldn't do that. They'd lose too much money.
Well,
they got to develop something that's halfway good.
That's exactly it. No, you're exactly right. It would kill Duracell. It would kill Energizer. It would destroy the solar industry completely and, wind power, because you can't compete with these cells. These cells put out power. There's no energy going in these. They
Yeah, you can't
create
compete with the
power.
power of nature, when you're harnessing
That's
nature
right.
correctly.
Right.
So
We're harnessing power at the nano level.
Yeah.
I
So
recently
we're
got
pulling.
my. Sorry,
ahead.
Mike. Go ahead. Well, I was
No,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say I recently got my system running on like a AAA battery, so I should come see you and give you a coil to run on your system, and then maybe once you get all your business orientations going, I can buy a cell off you and see if we
Yeah.
can run my system without any other battery other than your cell, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to mess with
Yeah,
your stuff.
team up video.
See, like a traditional battery, you put a load on it and you draw direct power coming off that battery, right? Well, this cell technology I'm working on, you don't do that. If you pull a continuous load off the battery off the power cell, you actually kill it. What we do is called pulse charging. So it'd be 2 seconds on, 7 seconds off, 2 seconds on, 7 seconds off. If you run the power cell exactly like I've told you, it will last 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years.
Now, does
So
that pattern depend on what system you're running? Does it
Well,
change, or is
say
that kind of like a consistent pattern?
yeah, for an example of a system, say you got an inverter and a stack of car batteries, and then you got a charge controller that charged the batteries. So the power cell will be at the very beginning of the system, pulsing that power through the charge controller into your storage banks. Those storage bank batteries runs your inverter that runs all your utilities. So my power cell bank, some of my early tests with my partner, we made a very simple cell. It was putting out about 1.7 volts at about 17 amps.
Oh wow!
17
So it doesn't really
pulses.
So it doesn't necessarily rely on the type of battery you're using or the size of battery.
Well, actually, the square area of the battery makes a huge difference in the performance.
Well, what I'm saying is
Also,
the pulsing method. You said 2 seconds on, 7
right,
seconds off. Does that
right.
change based on like your battery that you're using?
No, it's a kind of a rule of thumb of how you use those batteries without destroying them. So
Okay,
what
so that's good.
happens
No, I'm
is,
gonna note that.
so think of it almost like a self-recharging capacitor. So as soon as that capacitor is full, it wants to dump power. So you dump the power for 2 seconds, shut it off, take the load off, let it accumulate the power again inside the cell, and then you dump it again. So it's cycle dumping. So if you keep
Right.
this regular algorithm of how you allow it to accumulate and discharge, accumulate, discharge, there's no
I
reason why those
swear I've
cells.
heard cycling before in that same context in the
Right.
free practical guide to free energy devices.
Yeah, it's a
I
totally
think I
different
read about
method
it.
of how to use a battery. But what I'm making is not a battery. It does not have capacitive value in it. It has a little bit, but very, very little. Actually, less than most capacitors.
But you don't
So
need it to be. You don't need
you
it to
don't
store
need it.
energy. It's just putting out so much.
That's right. It's pulling the energy from the quantum vacuum or quantum tunneling.
Like you
Using
just put a
these,
tap and you got a water flowing.
we created a waterfall. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we've done.
It's like a well pump. It just
Yep.
it pumps it out when you need it.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
The well's
Exactly what
always
it is.
full of the water, and just pump it out. Yep.
Mhm.
2 second pulses.
Yeah.
Now with a small cell, it was about 6 inches by 6 inches. We were given 17 amp pulses coming off it. Like I've actually fried meters.
Yeah, but that's good though, because you can save that energy. And
Yes.
you can twist it once you save it. And
That's
then you
right.
can do anything you want with it.
Sounds like these cells are building up like a capacitor.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
build
you're
up.
saying.
It's you would think they're building up a capacitive charge, but not. The graphite that's used in it that holds a bit of capacitance, but the actual pulse itself it's the matrix on where.
Why would it pulse? It just can't hold no more and it drops the load, drops its charge?
No, if you do not pull anything off that battery or cell, sorry, it keeps saying battery, but it's not. If you don't pull power off the cell, the battery or the cell actually goes into a dormant state. It actually shuts down. So the second you put a load
Huh.
on it, it comes back to life, and the amperage will start climbing at a very steady rate. So
That's weird.
yeah, within about 1 minute, you're
I
getting
built crystal
huge
cells. I've never
pulses.
seen that, but that's definitely new.
It's like digging a hole at your water table. So as soon as you dig the hole, it'll fill up. You empty the hole, the water table fills it again. That's
That's right.
exactly what you're doing.
Yep.
That's it. And then you
That's
can
it.
only use what's inside
So
the
what are you
hole.
triggering it to unload
Right.
it, or what are you switching
Yeah,
it
you
to unload it?
use a timer circuit and just trigger it
Yeah, I
every
like that
2
analogy.
Yep.
Okay, then you're dumping
So-
the capacitance in there and letting it fill up again. Huh? That's the
Yep.
best way to.
So the
do
But
more-
it.
that's a lot of free energy devices work that way if you know what you're doing.
Well, it's better
Right.
to unload that
You
device. with a
amplify
pole.
and dump. That's the way it works.
And the best part about it is it's solid state. There's no toxic materials in it whatsoever. It's non-flammable. All the minerals that we use come from the earth. They're not, they'll catch on fire or like explode like lithium and get thermal runaways. It's 100% safe. It's actually way safer than a lithium battery.
Because if you use the
And
wrong
what exact-
materials, you end up with thermite, and then you're blowing holes
Yeah.
in everything. That's
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing. You have to get
Yeah.
it chemically correct together.
So what
What is
actually
the device called?
it's basically called, well, it is a crystal cell, but we've
Crystal
gone
cell.
it's a crystal cell, but we've gone way further with it.
Hmm.
Magnesium is
That-
pretty explosive.
Yeah, you can use that
Yeah.
in the cell, but the problem is you'll get a lot of power probably for the first year or two, but it'll fall off. So we have found other
I think the
material
corrosion
cell-
gets to the magnesium. You have to
well,
sand
it's
it or
called
something.
dendrites. The dendrites start forming on the metal and create those pitted
Mhm.
holes. As soon as you get the dendrites in there, that's when the like a lithium battery or a zinc battery starts breaking down.
You don't suppose you
Now-
could
Well,
send
if
a
you're
spike
using
and
Chris-
shake those dendrites off?
Well, we've found 2 elements that actually will protect the reactive metal from dendrites.
With silicon, whatever, what's that called again? Silicon.
No, it's totally different. I cannot talk about that.
Well, with crystalline, supposedly in theory, if you can create a resonance cascade and start that effect, it can self-resonate.
Yeah, so
Self oscillate. Yeah.
I
Well,
can mention something about that.
I've actually go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sodium silicate.
So one of the tests that I did do, I actually had it hooked up to the scope, and I was doing the 2-second cycle charges. My power cell was actually showing there was a back EMF
On the cell?
in the cell from itself, and there's no
That's
coil
awesome.
anywhere.
Was it
Yeah.
during the switching event or not?
During the dump event, it was showing a back EMF.
Oh, that's
believe it or
normal.
not.
Yeah. Yeah, we
No,
were
there's
just
no
discussing.
coil.
That's a good.
There's no
Yeah.
coil.
Yeah, but all materials
Oh, no
repel.
coil. Wow.
Doesn't have to be a coil.
But yeah, we were just discussing that the back EMF is just unutilized free energy.
It's a rebound.
It's a rebound. Yeah,
It's
all
a
the
natural
materials will
rebound.
rebound.
Your
Yeah,
rebound.
But most people don't. Most people ignore it or drive it out the system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
they
because the
ground it out.
rebound blows
They
up
ground
your
it out.
stuff.
They just ground it out. Like on motors, like regular DC or AC motors, they'll put a diode or a filter capacitor there to drown out the back EMF coming off the windings.
Mm-hmm.
And they still do it today.
It's what destroys the switches too, the transistors. And
That's right.
at first the brand new transistors makes a nice good signal, but give it some time with that back EMF and that signal will go to crap.
And that's why they put that circuit
The
on.
transistor will still work though.
I don't know, because I can't remember. I was saying I came across a bit of a breakthrough.
You have
Well-
to dump that back EMF away from the transistor and never ever let it hit the transistor.
Okay,
Ever.
so listen to this then, Mike, if that's the case.
Ever.
Because now the way that I've got my system running, I was floating it above a magnet, a ferrite magnet. So what I'll do now is
That's
I'll
what
run
they
it
do.
from You're listening? I run it from a 6-volt battery from my function generator. It starts it off. So it pops it up about an inch, inch and a half. Then I take the back EMF from the circuit,
Right.
run it back into the coil. It pops
even
up
better.
to 3 inches. You're listening? Then I shut my function generator off. Can you figure
Yeah,
that out?
and it will bounce off each other. Right. It'll bounce for a little while.
But there's no a little while, dude. I left it while I was sitting talking to Nathan in the comments section for 45 minutes. It was sitting on my desk floating from a 6-volt battery, and it was charging the battery as it was floating.
Well, if there's diodes on the coil and it's not dumping, the coil's not dumping anywhere, it'll stay charged.
I'm telling you that this is crazy stuff. Once
yeah,
you get
that's
there,
so cool.
it gets crazy. I'm gonna give this all to everybody. I'm telling you, I'm not keeping this for myself. I'm not. Nathan's gonna get a package. Mike Does gonna get a package. Mike's gonna get a package. Phil will. So will you, Ben. You guys are all gonna test this.
Well, if I build it, it'll work. You know that for sure. But if I
Well,
get
here's the
around to
thing.
it,
I'm giving a package like this with a working device. You're getting all the experiments that I've done on what I've done, and then you can replicate them or not, your choice. But I'm also giving a manual that goes with it on how I got to where I got, how to build it, what it's based on, the phi, the platonic solids, the geometrical forms, all of it. Even the 175 separate built coils are all.
that's a big weak spot for me.
I think, gentlemen, I think this is Christmas in July.
Well, it won't be in July. It might be in August. It's after the APEC. I'm not doing anything until after Christmas.
Don't make it us wait. Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool, Jared.
And then,
really cool. I'm excited.
And then after APEC,
awesome.
I'll have to get personal information. I already got Jeremiah Pops. I'm going to send him his stuff. And then everybody else's as well. I'll have to get information from to send it to you. So, yeah.
Yeah. Just
it's got to be confirmed or denied. But here's what I want. I want you guys to debunk it, break it, make it not work. Make me a liar, please.
Hey, that's. I'll hook it up 1,000 different ways and try 1,000 different methods.
Exactly, and I'm not saying that to be cocky. No, I seriously want you guys to debunk it, because then that way, I'll know whether or not I'm sitting in a
debunk what? If it's a working circuit, what's there to debunk?
Well, that's just
he wants us to make sure we root out all of the if there are any inconsistencies in what his tests are proving.
Exactly.
So I think the breaking part. You're talking to me. I tend to break stuff a lot. I use a lot more voltage than I'm supposed to. I freely admit that.
What was it that you said?
That's the good thing about coils, Nate. They have
use a lot more energy.
Doesn't matter how much you give it. I mean,
how'd they go? Fry it and find out? Is that how it went?
Yeah, fry it.
I amplify everything. It's a common rule. If it doesn't explode, I don't buy it.
As long as your load is not over the threshold of the what your coil can handle, then
you wait until high voltage hits anything in my garage. Trust me, we're gonna have some fireworks.
Good. I specialize. Like I said, I like debunking, and I really want Mike, and this is why I want to send Mike one to hook his cell up to the coil and see how long that's gonna go.
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that's the next step here is to see how different free energy systems interact with each other. You know, you have one method here and one method here. How is it going to interact with each other?
Well, you're going to have the pulse charge, and then the other one's taking in the energy and amplifying it. It's a system. It works.
Right, but I mean, we're working with, unconventional science. Who knows? There could be something that we discover,
Well, what Mike's working on
is it, like the power cell that I'm working on is an open system. It's not a closed system, because the energy obviously is not coming just from the cell itself. It has to be coming from the outside. So I consider it an open system, and that's where the free energy, that's where the second law of thermodynamics does not come into play in my cell, because I am physically not putting any energy into the device. It's producing it. with
Yeah,
no
the rodent
IG
coil is a similar system. It's
I
an
don't-
open system.
I don't know if you realize this, Mike, but there was a guy back in the 50s that came up with, there were like 2 rods and they were made out of material that he wouldn't tell anyone, and he could light a 110-watt light bulb from it just by hitting the 2 rods together with the bulb. So don't kid yourself. What you're working on is important. In fact, you need to get to that point. You never know.
Huh.
Yeah. You know, a solid state, and you got to think of the whole picture with this power cell. It has no moving parts. It's solid state. There's nothing in this cell that could actually wear out physically, other than what's going on at the nano scale. The only thing that can destroy my cell is dendrites. So
Yeah,
we've found a blocker for dendrites. So if that's the case, if we expected, say, 10 years out of the cell, we might have doubled the length of life on that cell now because of that.
I wonder if you fix the problem with the lithium cells as well and inadvertently. That's worth a lot of money.
Well, we've
You know,
found
it's hard
elements.
to calculate if you're getting excess in any device you build. It's so hard to calculate that. It's not so hard to kind of see it. It's harder to it's not so hard to calculate it, but you have to understand that for every hour there's so many seconds, and how many seconds is one cycle of your device, and how many watts in that 1 second did your device consume, and all that crap. Who does that?
I'm glad you asked that or made that.
That's
statement.
where I'm headed next. I can tell you right now, I have a device that took 4 hours on 2 7-amp 12-volt batteries to stop running at 26 volts was its average run voltage, and going to consume 2.5 watts for the coil's resistance measurement of 370 ohms and 26 volts. Means the coil can, you know, at that voltage, it was 2.5 watts.
Right. If you go to my Faraday
but those
Research
2
YouTube
batteries only
channel,
have 168 watts to offer in 7 amp hours each, which is 7 amps for 1 hour. 7 amps at 12 volts is it's not a lot of wattage.
Right. And like Nathan likes to say,
It's
not all
84
watts are the same, you know.
times 2, and that's for 4 hours runtime at 2.5 watts. There you have it. I didn't do the math yet.
Kind of an example with the small test power cells that I made. They're actually on the Faraday Research YouTube channel. The 4 cells that I did make, I ran them for 3 months. I worked out the numbers of how much power.
Amount, you know.
I worked out how much power that these cells were actually producing. It was producing just over 1 kilowatt a week. So for every month my cell was running, it was producing 4 kilowatts of power, and it was this big.
That's killer.
Yeah,
right?
like the vacuum triode amplifier. That was a little tiny device like that.
Yeah,
and
I'm not putting any power in it. It's just creating this power out of nowhere.
Yeah,
There's no energy going in.
I think Floyd Sweet described in the I think it was in the Practical Guide to Free Energy Devices, or somebody was describing Floyd Sweet's vacuum triode amplifier as he had like 3 vacuum tubes, and one of them was actually resonating with what he said was the resonant frequency of the ether of basically the universe.
Yeah, his input wattage was about 30 milliwatts, and it was getting.
Yeah, he had to have a little tiny bit of power input, but you're saying yours doesn't have any input at all. That's crazy.
Yep, zero
That's
power
nuts,
input.
Mike. You're crazy.
Speaking of crazy,
somebody's got to do it.
I want Nathan to build another Utron. That's what I want.
Build what now?
Oh, the Utron.
Another Utron.
Oh.
I've been really wanting to build one my whole life ever since I heard the story, but I don't know. I don't know where I'd start. Other than the stubble field.
Oh, a Utron? Did you say Utron, Gerald? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. What is that?
That's
it's an
a
aluminum
U-core
frequency chamber that's a square one way and a diamond
core.
the other.
It's like a U-shaped core, you know.
It's not a
With-
U-shaped core.
A Utron is a U-shaped core with
No,
a
it's not. That's not what he's talking about. Otis T car Utron, right?
yes, and there's a
Yeah,
tetrahedron
Otis T cars.
connected in the two tips of the U-shaped
Yeah,
core.
it's a
Or it's a
square
it's
and a
core
diamond.
shaped like a half square.
Oh, okay.
A core with
No,
a coil wrapped around the core, and the tips of the
No.
core has the spinning object, the
No.
tetrahedron,
They're just pure aluminum, and they have a
Aluminum,
resonance chamber
right.
in the center.
and they're tetrahedron shaped,
They,
2 ice cream cones.
And they spin really fast.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the
Am I
Utron.
correct? Yeah.
but they use aluminum because they're going to spin the aluminum and take the frequency inside, based on the outside C-shaped capacitor, and they're going to use the frame of the whole craft to put the energy into that C-shaped capacitor that spins
C.
the Utron. The Utron goes into the capacitor every time it passes over that. It'll pass
Yeah.
over the Utron, then capacitor, Utron, capacitor. And if
Oh,
you
that's
do
awesome.
not understand potential, you will not make that run.
That's awesome. I never heard that explained like that before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
So when you get to the capacitance, understand this.
So
when
the
I tell
Utron
you,
with a tank circuit.
hold on, stop. When I tell you a Tesla coil runs on a pulse magnetic frequency, it's the reason why I tell it to you. Because every time the C-shaped capacitor goes over the capacitor, it creates a pulse in it. It builds up the amount of energy and it pulses it out to the Tesla coil. So that's where you're getting your frequency for your Tesla coil in the center of that device. That's why it has no wires running everywhere. It's all based on the frame.
right.
That's
Because,
why Tesla was involved.
Yeah, Tesla was the guy who came up with it, and Otis Carr was the one who inherited that information. That's when
Yeah, he was his student.
yeah, he was
You
making
have
the
to
ox
really
cart.
start to understand the pulses and stuff, guys. That's why Gerald, your stuff I get because I understand. You know what I mean? That capacitor pulse and potential and convert.
I know you do, Nathan. I know you do.
Can I get theoretical a little bit before the end of the show? Because I just wanted to share something I've been thinking about this week. So a charge, it's about charges and masses. You know, in my paper, I'm saying the charge can be converted into a mass,
Right.
vice versa. I wasn't sure. You know, I'm just double checking my own theory. And it makes sense because a charge can be converted into virtual particles. A mass can be converted into virtual particles. So if you convert a mass into virtual particles, then you can convert the virtual particles back into a charge. So we could technically convert a mass into a charge through virtual particles. Would you agree?
Yeah,
That's exactly what plasmoids do.
Well,
That's exactly what they
A
do.
virtual particle. I mean, what is that? A holographic particle?
Yeah, virtual particle is just a component of a magnetic field, electric field, gravity, or gravitomagnetic field.
It's the residual.
It's what carries the force or the acceleration.
Right, it's energy to mass. That's what Joseph Newman's.
Why call it
worked
virtual?
on.
Yeah, they call it virtual because they can't control it. They just this it's just a side effect of a mathematical something they can't. It's a particle they can't
So you're
control.
saying they consider the virtual particle the source of momentum.
So energy to mass, like with momentum, or
Like the momentum, the source of momentum. It's the source of momentum, the virtual particle.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it creates an acceleration and a force, or a force if you prefer.
Because they can't control it, and they don't know how to say where it's coming from or whatever.
Like Joseph Newman, he had a very large coil. All right, 4,000 pound rotor he had, and he was hitting it with 460 volts at only 50 milliamps, and he was able to turn a 7,000 pound motor. It's energy to a mass.
It sounds similar to entropy.
The second you hit a giant coil with a high voltage potential, not current, high voltage potential. That's why he was able to run a 7,000 pound motor with dead batteries.
I believe he was pulsing his system on and off too, right?
Yeah, he had a mechanical commutator, basically a spark gap
Hmm.
switch, the way my motor works. A lot of how my motor works came from Newman.
If you do it right, the very high potential that you use, the very flow of that potential to ground will create current. If you capture that, you got all the
That's
current
right.
you want.
And that's where all the power is generated. It's in the core itself. It's in the core. That's where the potential and horsepower is generated. And then if you build it correctly, you could get the inductive reactance happening, right?
It's so crazy because we use momentum to generate electricity like so, and yet that momentum's converted into electrical momentum that's then converted back into physical momentum.
Right.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, it's because it's a closed system, right?
Kind of like Phil was just saying with the virtual particle.
That's right. It's an open system. He's
being able to go backwards and forwards between the two matter and not matter.
Yeah, he's allowing the matter to come in from free space into the device. That's an open system.
It's like we convert electric from momentum back into from physical momentum into electrical momentum back into physical momentum. It's a conversion of two types of momentum. One is physical, one is not.
Closed. It's still closed.
Right.
So
when you're open
that's
system,
the
you're
problem.
actually mimicking nature.
That's right. You're allowing the virtual particle from free space into the device.
It's crazy. It's almost like
yeah, you're basically doing what nature does. You know, the universe isn't limited and closed. You know, there's matter being
how many miles you walk in your
time.
lifetime. You know, that momentum you generated.
You like Thomas Bearden actually kind of made a very accurate comment. He says, "Is if your system stays out of equilibrium, you'll always be able to draw power from the ether or outside virtual particles into your system. Your system's open, which violates the second law of thermodynamics. But all the systems that we go by today is a closed system and falls under the second law of thermodynamics. So, second.
By opening the circuit, you let the momentum. What did you call it earlier, Mike? You called it rebound.
Sorry, say that again.
By opening the circuit, you let the momentum you put into it rebound.
That's right. You're now allowing the virtual particle from outside in free space to funnel itself back in. That's now an open system and unequilibrium system. The second it goes equal.
You said the second it goes equal. You may have just about answered my question. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, second your system goes into equilibrium, it's now a closed system. It's now not taking power from the ether or from virtual space into your machine. And that's unfortunately that's how everything is built today. It's a closed system.
Because the two potentials are identical.
So an open system would be me pulsing my large coil, and the closed system would be me collecting the load off of the smaller coils.
Right, in a closed system, because now you're not drawing power from the outside environment in.
Now hold on.
It's a closed circuit.
If he puts a triple spark gap in, can he open the system up and then pull the vacuum from that in order to gain more?
That's right.
My system already pulls a vacuum. Like just by the when I'm pulsing it, if I use too much power, my ears will pop in the room.
Right.
Does the triple spark gap go back to what you're saying with like uneven system, like asymmetry?
Unequilibrium. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Exactly.
That's why you want to use a spark gap.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Why do you think that's why Tesla worked with
What's with the triple spark gap? What's all that about?
It goes back to Gerard Moore and what he was doing. He was creating a spark gap in order to pull more energy into his device than he was originally getting. He was basically using a vacuum in order to suck it in because he knew that the energy wasn't running through the wire necessarily. It was kind of running on the outside a little bit. And he was able to continue that a longer distance than he would a regular system that's closed. Because it'll dissipate energy instead of this one, which will actually continue the charge all the way down and back.
That's right.
Nathan's got it.
Transfer to the vacuum instead of the wire.
Yeah,
Huh?
basically
He would transfer through the vacuum instead of the wire.
It would go as a vacuum. So when you pull it into the vacuum, it doesn't pull it into the wire. It pulls it to the outside of the wire, and it rotates around it. All you need is like a milliamp inside in order for it to chase it. So it's like the rabbit's the milliamp, and then here comes the
And so sending a
turtle, and it'll
milliamp
keep
through the
going.
vacuum onto the wire
Yes.
stimulates
It's like a tornado going
eddy
into your
currents
wire.
around the wire to join in, kind of
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
creating
you're-
like a vortex almost, huh?
like the
you're
river.
creating the negative
It's a river.
potential. You're creating the condition that allows that to flow into the system.
Yes.
Whoa.
And
So if
because
you're-
there's
so-
three,
Current.
because there's
It's
three
not much
spark
different
gaps.
than cold energy. When you pull it, you have to have something on the other side in order to pull the energy through it. So
Yes,
Right.
but
You have
And
you
you-
have to create the condition. Yeah.
you got to create a load.
That could be a lesser potential or your load.
Well, yeah, that's what
Well-
I'm saying. You just create a load to it, and you pull the energy right in.
those three spark gaps are important that there's three there too because
Yeah,
they
what's with
create
the
a sine wave.
three spark gaps?
Yeah, they create a sine wave.
Yeah, it changes your energy into potential again.
Are they?
So then you can amplify it by pulling more of the outside energy into it.
Are they staggered or unified sparking?
This is 3 in a row.
Are they staggered like 1, 2, 3, or all like together?
You can do
Yeah,
1,
3 in a
2,
row.
3.
So they spark together.
Well, I'm sure there's different timing in each one when they hit because they're going to pull different
it
amounts in
depends,
each
right?
one.
It depends on the devices, whatever it's requiring, right? It'll
It's just
spark
a whole
however it wants
different
to.
way of thinking about things,
Right.
man. When you want to
You're
start
giving it
creating
3
free
paths
energy.
to choose from. I see.
Yeah, you just have to engineer a device. You're creating a potential situation that allows for atmospheric energy or radiant energy, whatever you want to call it. It allows that to flow into the
Is there
system.
any reason why
on
one
its own.
spark gap wouldn't work as opposed to 3?
It will work. It will work, but he's creating a frequency and a harmonic going through his spark gaps and eventually into the coil, and that's creating the negative
I see.
unequilibrium in the system. And the second you get that unequilibrium system going, that's when the power starts coming from
Mhm.
free space into the device.
But
Can I
that's
say one
also.
more?
Go ahead.
I want to say one more thing and then I got to take off. When it comes to the spark gap, think about this. Remember, I was talking about how when you put two wires closely together and cross in a certain way, you get the skin effect and you get the parasitic capacitance effect. Well, actually, what's happening in between those wires is not unlike a spark gap. You're getting plasma that's literally forming between the lines as they cross. And all that adds up like 100 different spark gaps in one coil. And you take that, it amplifies the whole system. That being said, it's been awesome talking to you all. I have to take off. I got early morning, and I'll see you all at APEC.
Have a
Yeah,
good night.
Yeah, we're
Have a
gonna
good night, Gerald.
Have
Yeah,
a great
I'm gonna-
weekend, you guys.
Thanks, Gerald.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna square it up here tonight because I gotta be on the road tomorrow. I got a road trip, and yeah, it was a great show. I was really happy with the show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We
Yeah.
kind of went all over the spectrum tonight, right from politics all the way into free energy, and we were everywhere tonight. So yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. We'll be back again live again next Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Ben. Thanks,
See
Mike.
you guys later.
Philip, thanks a lot. And everybody have a great week, and we'll see everybody next Friday night.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.